What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of In Conversation with Dre. And today's episode, I know I say that I'm usually really excited for the episode, but today I'm actually legit excited. I know a lot of people that they say they want to do something. They say that they want to make a difference. They say they want to change the world and spread positivity, but there's not a lot of people that actually go and do it. And my guest on the show today is somebody who 2020 decided to get up and get on his bike and make a difference. My buddy, Matt Cuesta. How's it going, man?
How are you, Dre? How are you, man? Everything's good?
It's as good as it can be. We're in a pandemic, but some of us are surviving. Some of us are thriving.
Yeah.
And I put you in the thriving category. I don't know if you would put yourself there, but
In different aspects, I'm thriving, and in others, I'm surviving. So
yeah, I bet,
yeah.
man. There's a human element to everything, and I want to get into all of it with you. When I thought about this episode, I thought about, man, there is so much Matt and I could talk about. There is so much, man. I see the shirt there, 46 for George, which we're going to get into in a little bit.
Yeah.
But first of all, how are you doing? It's a pandemic. We're in 2021 as we're recording this in February.
Yeah.
How's it going on your end, man?
It's okay. I'm maintaining. The new normal is a little bit difficult. I think taking away the human contact from us is hard. There's no separation from, I log off. I work from home, so I log off around 4 o'clock. I close the laptop, but I'm still here. So mentally, there's no separation. So you're forcing yourself to go for walks and try to break up the day. I was talking to my colleagues, and the thing I miss the most is like those little breaks in the day. We used to go play ping pong for 10 minutes or joke with each other. That's no longer, and mentally it's having a toll on me and a lot of people. So I mean, other than I'm grateful to still have a job. I know a lot of people are in between jobs or don't have a job right now, so I'm grateful for that. It's just it's a little bit difficult to be a human right now, but I'm maintaining, I'll say.
Yeah, and we were saying you're totally right, and we were saying in kind of the pre-interview before we started recording, living in your working space and working in your living space is difficult because you don't have that separation, like you just said. Like you used to be able to walk home or take the bus home or
Yeah,
something.
and I think before the pandemic, I think everyone's dream, well, I'd love to work from home, just wake up out of bed and just log in. You don't have to commute or anything. But those the commutes on the bus. I used to walk to work. I used to be happy taking that walk to work in the morning. It would get the blood flowing. It give me ideas. I hear the birds chirping. I'd see people walking. Those visual aspects really spark the mind and get the creativity going for the rest of the day. And you don't have that anymore. It's Groundhog Day every day. So it's hard, but I don't know, man. Try.
Isn't it funny? Like you talk to people and we're so conditioned to asking people questions like, what are you doing later? Or what are you doing this weekend? Or how are you doing? Or what are you doing later? And the answer should be nothing.
Yeah.
Like the answer should be like, I don't know, man, like watching TV, like something, right? But we don't know. Like, I think when we started the conversation, it was like, how are you doing, Dre? And I'm like,
And I told you, my response was, that's the answer I'm getting from people. It's like, it's okay, but because it's just like everyone's in that same position, and I guess it's good we can relate on that aspect. But man, like you're right, man. Like I miss like I think the last time I saw you was Mitty's birthday, and like I was scrolling through pictures the other day, and it's just like I miss that, man. It's just like just getting together and just being a human, right? So, man, it's rough.
yeah, it's rough, but I think we're going to be in it for the long haul. They're talking
Yeah,
about this vaccine and stuff, and we don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but this is the new world, man. This is the new world, the great reset, as they're calling it. I don't know if you're into that conspiracy stuff, but my sister sends me these articles and these videos all the time. I'm like, Sharice, man, like, what is it? Whatever. Like, like,
you know what? The silver lining to this, I'd say, is on the topic of I don't really follow much conspiracy theories, but the
mhm.
word reset, it's not untrue that we are resetting in a certain way. But I think the silver lining to this is that we're kind of coming to realize what's important and what's not. Like, shopping for one. I mean, nothing's open to go and just window shop and eventually spend money where you don't really need to. You're kind of forcing yourself to, okay, what do I need and what don't I need? People are forced to go on walks because the gyms are closed. I go for a walk every day. Granted, it's the same route, but it gets me out, it gets me active, and it's something different from what I was used to at the gym, which was just straight up, weightlifting. And the bike was a product of the pandemic, of me going out there. Like, I was talking to some people that I met last year. If this pandemic didn't happen, 46 for George wouldn't have existed, because there's going to be sports on TV, clubs are going to be open, restaurants are going to, no one, sad to say, would care. This was something for people to do, and an outlet, and something, people needed to come together. You know what I mean? So the silver lining is that it's showing us different ways to do things, and, different thoughts about us and humans.
Exactly. And I'm really glad you brought up 46 for George, because you do have it on your t-shirt. It's kind of like everything about who you are as an individual right now. I think when a lot of people are introduced to you last year, and including in this podcast, they're going to think of 46 for George. I don't know if you've had a lot of practice explaining what 46 for George, because I feel like as much as it is a physical thing that you do, it's more of it's like a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
If I'm on the right track, but
100%.
For those of us who have never heard of Matt Cuesta, for those of us who have never heard of 46 for George, how can you describe what 46 for George is?
Well, it sparked, obviously, well, not obviously, if you don't know, it sparked from the murder of George Floyd last year. I decided on a whim one day to ride 46 kilometers every day for 46 days. And the 46 comes from how old he was when he was murdered. So I decided that on a whim to do that on my bike, and to kind of protest in a peaceful way. There were many protests last year, 2020, as we all know. I decided that was my protest, and like you said, as much as it was physical, it was I think more so a spiritual and mental challenge for me, to be honest with you. And I've touched on this slightly. I can go into it more now, but
please.
Last year, man, it was different. Physical pain I can deal with. I have no problems with it. I guess because it's like, it's there, it's in you, like, where the pain is, like, you can remedy it, right? But the mental pain and the spiritual pain was something I wasn't prepared for. My DMs every day, I became a sponge for people's pain. Like, people were messaging me, crying, you could hear the pain in their message, not physically crying on a message or anything, but I could hear their pain in their message and asking me, what do I do? How can I help? Like, I experienced this. And that was something I was not prepared for at all. Like, dealing with my own pain and then taking on others while, trying to be a sympathetic human being and trying to help them too, while trying to work on my day job and run this campaign that, sparked out of, on the second day, BlogTO picked it up. And from there, I had no media training. I had no, dude, I was just riding my bike, man. I posted it up on Instagram on day one, second day, it blew. I didn't expect that at all. I expected a couple of friends to join me in, and, E-Man joined me on running 4.6 every day. But man, spiritually, it was rough, man. It was really tough. I posted on my Instagram the other day that, like, I break down and probably cry once a week, and that's the truth, still to this day, man. And it's just, it's rough, man. And I've been speaking on, racism and diversity most of my adult life through. I used to rhyme, I used to rap, and I spoke on that a lot in my poems and everything. So it just never got to this point of attention, of media attention, and that was something I wasn't prepared for at all, man. It was rough, man. It was really rough.
Thank you for being so transparent, and I commend you for your journey. And there's so much to unpack there. There's so much that we can touch on.
Yeah.
But where I want to start is, from my perspective, it looked like you were getting up every morning at 6 a.m. First of all, maybe describe For describe to me what you did every day. So I know you did 46 kilometers either on your bike, and then it was 4.6 kilometers by running if it was raining or whatever it
Yeah,
was, right?
yeah.
So what did every day look like for you?
So it'd be 4:30 in the morning. I'd get up. I'd drink a glass of water immediately. Use the washroom. I'd shower just to wake up, just so I could get warm in my body. Have another glass of water, something sweet, just to get some like fast carbs in me, and then I ride. I'd come home. I'd try to do it in an hour 20. That's a fast day. Some days it would be an hour 30, some days hour 40, just because I might have been tired. But yeah, I'd come back by about 6 o'clock, the latest. Get ready for work, uh, work, and deal with the media questions, and deal with the interviews, and deal with, like I said previously, people's pain. Um, it was exhausting, and like I said, man, more so mentally, it was exhausting, and not everyone is on board. I think I was talking to Emmanuel. He's to our listeners, our mutual friend. You know, he said, I'm not solving cancer where everyone can get on board. This is a very, topic where, there's two sides, where there shouldn't be, but there is, where people didn't like what I was doing. People didn't agree with what I was doing. People said, what is he going to solve riding his bike? I was, as much love as I was getting a lot of hate. Still to this day, I still get hate. I still get comments of, you're an idiot, this, that, and the other. Like, you know, how it is on social media. I try to block it out, but it's hard, man. It's really hard to ignore that. I try, but yeah, my day was packed until nighttime, about 9 o'clock, where I just pass out. I would try to like take baths with Epsom salt to relax my body, and I didn't stretch for those 46 days. I didn't meditate. It was just go, go, go. I was running on adrenaline for 46 days. And when I finally stopped, it like hit me like I need some rest. But yeah, that was my day.
Wow. Take me on the journey, man. Like what were some of the emotional highs and lows? Like there's so much there. I can only imagine people in your DMs. I thought there was somebody from Egypt or something like that had reached out to you, or somebody who was doing the ride as well in the Middle East or something
Albania.
like that.
Someone from
Albania.
Albania. Yeah, yeah. So I got messages from Albania. I got messages from Africa. Excuse me. The States, obviously, and across Canada, the UK as well. Um, the highs were, the community coming together. Just especially on that day 46, and throughout my rides. Like some mornings I'd be out there 4:30 and approaching 5 o'clock, and people would be out there, hey Matt, riding with me. And like it's like, because I for your listeners, I would ride the exhibition loop, the exhibition grounds. It was close to my home. It was a simple loop that I could just do and avoid cars and not stop. So people knew where I was, and they would come ride with me. And the highs were the community coming together and spreading the message. Getting the word across to all of their friends and families. It's the butterfly effect, right? Just you starting something and it continuing. And one of the messages, Roland, he might listen to this. He's a cyclist in the city. He's like, it's not up to you to carry on the message anymore. Now it's up to us. And that really resonated with me in one of the higher moments, where it's like, because I was always worried about what's going to happen after day 46, because I was getting that question a lot, and it kind of bothered me. To segue into a low point, it's just like, can we embrace what's going on right now? Like we're in this microwave generation where it's just like bam, bam, bam. You know what I mean? Like, what's next? While I'm doing something, you know what I mean? And he kind of put my mind at ease at that point, where it's just like, I don't have to do anything else. If I decide to stop, I've done what I need to do. You know what I mean? I'm not stopping, but like, if I do need rest, I can rest. And I think that was probably one of the higher points. It's very, maybe not a grand high moment like, the last ride or anything, which was a high moment. But to me personally, that was a very high moment, where it was like, you know what? Cuesta, you can relax a little bit. Don't worry, you've done what you need to do. It's up to us now.
And you know what? A lot of people, I'm wondering if you got this question as well, because a lot of people who are going to be watching this podcast are going to see that you are not dark skinned, you're not black like I am.
Yeah,
You have a mixed background. So
yeah.
was that a factor into, well, why do you care? You're not even black, or,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
was that a thing that you heard?
So, I mean, that's something I battled with. I'm glad you asked that question, man, because it's still to this day, like, kind of searching for an identity, right? And like Emmanuel said it too, like, he's like, why is it guys like you and Kaepernick, always the loudest in the room, right? And he broke it down for me, and he's like, because you're searching for, your identity, you're searching for a group, right? And it's like, I grew up, my mother's Jamaican, my dad's Maltese. I grew up in a Jamaican household. I was told since I was a young age, my grandmother always told me this, in this country, once you have black in you, you're considered black. And that goes back to what's called the one drop rule, where you have one drop of black blood in you, going back to slavery in the States, you were considered black. So I didn't know when I was young that that's, what she meant by, once you have black in you, you're black. But I identify as black. It's all I know, to be honest with you. I grew up in a Jamaican household. Yeah, man, it's tough, because I did get those questions. I got one radio interview where she asked straight up, "Are you black?" Like, it was like, I'm like, well, I mean, yeah. It caught me off guard, man. It's just like the bluntness of it too, right? So, you're right, and like I struggled with it growing up. I think a lot of mixed children do. You know what I mean? Like, searching for an identity, searching for somewhere to fit in, man. It's just like, I naturally hung out with black kids when I was a kid, just because my family was black. That's what I felt comfortable around, right? So it was tough, man. It was really tough. And my grandfather, I don't know if you've seen some of my stories during the 46, but when I was pulled over by the police years ago for apparently being on my cell phone, which I wasn't, the law wasn't even in place at the time for being on your cell phone. The officer searched my car, had me step out of a vehicle on the 401, and then let me go. My grandfather said, when I got home, I was living with them at the time. He was like, "You're not even black like me," and that's like, it really resonated with me to this day, and it still will. It's just like, to answer your question about I'm not as dark skinned as you. Like, I'm still experiencing. There's still a sliding scale of racism. Like, where he meant by you're not even black like me, and that's what I went through, and it kind of made me realize, like, yeah, I'm not even black like you, and I'm still experiencing it. So, I mean, people don't see me as white. They know I'm different. I've been called Spanish. I've been called this, that, and the other. I've been called the N-word. So, I mean, to tell me I haven't experienced racism, I beg to differ.
That's so interesting. You know, growing up, I never thought about what life would be like as a light-skinned person.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was a kid, my light-skinned friends were just my friends, and I saw them as black. And I never considered the duality of going home and having a white mother or a black mother and a white dad or a black, just being able to see both sides. And and something you said was really interesting, and I've heard other mixed race children say the same thing, is like searching for an identity. It's just searching for, like, what community do I belong to?
Yeah.
Like, where can I feel at home?
I started reading Obama's book, and the first chapter, he touched on the exact same thing I was going through in college. Like, where do I fit in? And that really resonated with me, right? So, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please
go on your topic there, but yeah, man, it's like, and even the whole, to be completely honest with you, the whole light skin, dark skin thing is kind of self-hate within the black community, right? I was watching YouTube the other day, just having music videos playing in the background while I work, and Rick Ross's video came on with Drake back in the day, Aston Martin music. So in the beginning of the video, there's a dark-skinned black girl with unkept hair, and a light-skinned Black girl with curly hair done up. And little Rick Ross was talking, they were kids. And little Rick Ross was saying to the girls, one day that's going to be my car, talking about an Aston Martin. And the dark-skinned Black girl with unkept hair said, Ricky, you ain't never going to get that car. And then the light-skinned girl was like, don't worry, Ricky, that'll be your car. And it's just that subtle scene, kind of just like, if a child is watching that, a dark-skinned Black girl is watching that, how does she feel? You know what I mean? That she's seeing that she's angry. Like, it just portrayed that stereotype of the angry Black woman, right? So back to my point of just like this whole Black, dark skin, light skin thing, even within our own community, is detrimental to us, where it's planted from slave days, right? Where it's just like, the lighter you were, you got more things, right? So I mean, it's just like, that's something too that we have to even overcome as well.
Right. But then on the other side of that, I think that there comes a responsibility, but not only a responsibility, there's almost like a privilege, right? Because the lines are so blurred that, I mean, for me, looking at the other side of the fence, I feel like the lines are so blurred that you can almost weave in between both sides, like a Drake, who can be white when he wants to, and he can be Black when he wants to. And I'm wondering if that was something that you grew up with, or that's something you experienced in your life.
I posed this question after my 46 rides, and I said it, I put it on a story. I'm like, if I was dark skinned, would I have got as much media attention and much attention if I wasn't light skinned? And I don't know. Dre, imagine if it was you. Imagine if it was you on the bike. You know what? 6'4". How tall are you, man?
Yeah, 6'4".
You're 6'4", you know, tall, dark-skinned, built Black man, who inherently people fear, the fear of the Black man, right? Imagine it was you. Would you have got as much? That question battle, like, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Does it matter though? Doesn't matter? I mean,
I got that response too. Does it matter? It doesn't matter, but there's a reality of it, because there are people that are darker skinned that might have not get as much media attention and connections that I made based on me being lighter. And that's a question I'm battling with, and I don't know how to answer. Like, do you feel that you would have done it? See, it's hard, right?
It's hard. Like, and unfortunately, here's the thing though. I think I would have gotten different attention, maybe not more or less. And the reason I say that is because I think that certain publications are more inclined to reach out to you because it's okay for their viewership. It's okay for their viewership to see white people all the time, and then see a guy who's not white. So they want to hear what he has to say, but he's not Black, so they're not going to immediately dismiss it, right? Yeah. So there's those markets that are going to reach out to you, and I wouldn't get those markets. But then on the other hand, you have the super Black markets that are looking at you like, oh, this guy is just a culture vulture. He's not really that serious, but then they're going to support me. So I think there's like a trade-off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I totally get you.
Like CTV News is gonna support you, right? Blog TO is more so gonna support you, but then like Blavity or the hyper Black publications are gonna reach out to me, like Fiva TV or wherever it is. They're gonna reach out to me. They're like, hey man, you're doing something. So I don't know. It's hard to say.
You know what? Like, I did get on that Blog TO post that they did post up on their Instagram. There was almost 200 comments, and I read every one, just because, going back to that social media thing. And there was a Black woman on there that commented like, you're not even Black. So I get what you're saying. Like, I excuse me, I didn't think about it like that, but you're totally right. There's different markets that would reach out to you and would look at me like, oh, he's just trying to not profit, because I'm making no money off this, but trying to culture vulture, right? But it goes back to education. It goes back to learning, that something that we don't do as a society. I think it's a microwave generation. It's going back to your the pandemic and the theories. Like, no one's actually, everyone I say reads headlines now. You need to put the facts in the headlines because no one's reading the articles.
No,
Nobody.
no.
So everyone's getting the news from Instagram, from memes, right? And if people reach out to me, and I invited people to reach out to me through DMs, talk to me. You know, if you want to see if I specifically remember one guy. He posted 3 hateful comments, like just back to back to back. And I literally messaged him and I said, hey, brother, if you think I can do better, DM me. He DM'd me. At the end of our conversation, he apologized and said he loved me. And I always invited people to talk to me. My whole thing was uncomfortable conversations, right? So I couldn't preach it and not practice it. But to your point, like, people prejudge. People look at me like I look Spanish. My last name's Cuesta.
Yeah.
So they might, you know, okay, he's not white, but he's not black. But what is he doing? But, you know, reach out to me, see what I'm about. Like, all I know is Jamaican culture. All I know is black. That's all I was told I was growing up. So it's what I identify with and what I am. Dark skin, light skin, I'm still experienced racism, maybe not as much as my grandfather. And maybe to your point of like, I'm safe for this, I'm not safe for that. It's just, it's a whole, dude, we could talk for hours on this.
we could. And I kind of want to pivot just slightly. You mentioned prejudice, and you mentioned this conversation you had with this gentleman. And by the end of the conversation, he was telling you he loves you. 2020 for me, and I would love to go back to George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and talk about the stories and the articles and the headlines that dominated 2020, at least in the Black Lives Matter space. But the first thing where I want to start is 2020 for me exposed the ignorance of I don't want to just say white people, but of people that are not Black. And let me elaborate. We know what's going on as Black people. We know what's going on. We know the systems that are in place to like hold us back. We understand what's out there. We understand the ignorance and the prejudice that's being told to people on a regular basis. There are a lot of white people, non-Black people, who have no idea. And 2020 exposed that to me. I'm wondering if through your pursuit in 46 for George and this philanthropic movement, if that was exposed to you as well, and what were the things that you noticed that a lot of non-Black people didn't know that you had to educate them on?
Yeah, so I think one of the beautiful parts of the movement was, you're right, a lot of non-Black people, white people, had no idea what was going on. It's sad that it took a knee to a Black man's neck for 8 minutes for them to realize, but that happened, and it made them realize, like, wow, you know, this is going on. And I got questions from people at work, from high-ranking like VPs, messaging me, asking me, hey, I have 2 white sons who don't know they have privilege. How can I teach them that they have privilege? Cycling's a very expensive white sport. Put it out there, right? I met people who, Dre, when I was talking to them, to me, it was a different language. They were talking on a different wavelength. And that made me understand too that, okay, if I don't understand them, how are they understanding us? You know, I was trying to, and that's not to forgive ignorance and forgive, you know, turning a blind eye. I was just trying to get to the root to see where this is stemming from, to pull the roots out and, like, you know, replant a tree. But there's a definite, I'm not gonna say language barrier because they're both English, but an understanding barrier. There's 2 different worlds, man. That's one of the biggest things I realized. Like, I knew it existed. I knew that, like, when you're in a different tax bracket and you're white, your world is totally different. Totally different. I knew that. But dude, when I was in it, it kind of took me back and made me realize, like, yo, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done, man.
What do you mean? What do you mean you were in it? Like because you were cycling and you were meeting all of these, let's call it white privileged people.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
what you mean?
yeah. Like I said, man, like cycling's a very rich white dominated sport. So when I've been rubbing elbows with some pretty prominent people within the city, pretty prominent white people in the city, and you know, just hearing some of those conversations, that's what I meant was in it. When I'm a fly on the wall to their conversations, and I realized then that the disconnect is huge. It's huge. They were trying to understand me, which was a great sign, because a lot of these people I rode with they didn't have to reach out. They didn't have to come on my rides at all. So to me, and this was before like cameras or anything. They were coming with me at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, when no one knows they're there. No one knows who they are. So that to me was a good sign that at least they're trying to understand um, my life and your life and the life of Black people, right? So that's what I mean was in it, where I was in an earshot of a conversation.
Right. And you know, and to me that sounds like things are moving in a positive direction. And I remember on Facebook, because there was a time, and maybe we could segue into, you know, Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, but there was a time between April 2020 to maybe end of the summer, beginning of the fall, where things were just incredibly toxic and negative, and social media was at its absolute worst. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter what walk of life you were from. There was negativity coming from you about something. And for whatever reason, the Black Lives Matter movement was taking a lot of the hits, you know? I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, you know, just we were learning about some of the things that white people had no idea about, that we had been living with and we had been saying our entire lives, and the frustration of understanding that how could you not know what we've been saying our entire lives, and it's still happening to us. And it's just like it just made us cry. It made us break down and cry. And I remember on Facebook there was a guy that posted something. I'm not using any names just in case they watch, but you know, there was a guy that posted something, and it was when I think I think there was so there was the situation with the cop that killed Derek Chauvin, the cop that killed George Floyd. All the cops were outside of his house protecting him. And right. And you know, he was just expressing, this gentleman on Facebook, he was just expressing his you know, his disgust with that, and just saying like, oh, it'll never get any better. You know, it's 400 years and we're still here. And I said, look, man, like, I'm you, and I completely understand what you're going through and what you're feeling, but that feeling is exactly what they want us to feel. They want us to feel like it's never going to get any better. They want us to feel like it's always going to be this way. We have to understand that where we were 100 years ago, where we were 50 years ago is not where we are today, and it's not where we're going to be tomorrow. And I think things like you having these meetings with people who actually genuinely want to understand you are a sign of that.
Yeah.
And there are people that are going to push back on that and say it's not going to change, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely a sign. I think, again, going back to my whole thing about microwave generation, we want to see it quickly, and we should see it quickly just based on it's a basic human right. But no, I agree with you. It's progress. It's slow progress. There were people that didn't like that I was trying to reach out to police. I'll touch on that because I think that was a little touchy subject with people. You know, as much as me reaching out to police was trying to bridge the gap, it was also therapy for me, because I inherently fear police. So for me, it was trying to get over that fear. And you know what? I still do. I was driving the other day and a cop was behind me, and I turned right when I wasn't turning right, just so he could drive past me. I wasn't doing anything wrong, Dre. And I just like, I felt fucking, sorry, I swear, I felt nervous, man.
It's okay.
And like, it's still there, man, that fear. And like, you know,
I've been there. I've been there.
Dude, I've had many encounters with police, not just in my car, just like And like I so as much as me reaching out to them was trying to bridge the gap, it was therapy for me too. And uh, going back to what you said about, people maybe not thinking things will change. They're warranted in their thought, I would say, just because of the history of things going on with Mark Trayvon getting murdered with Skittles,
Mhm.
and you know him being acquitted. Like there's anger.
George
There's
Zimmerman being acquitted.
Yeah, there's anger, there's frustration, and I don't blame people. Me, I've been angry, man. My poems, my raps were angry. Um, so I decided to take a different approach. And that approach did get me on a different journey where people's ears perked. And that's a start.
Mhm.
Is it it's momentum? Is it the speed we want? No, but as the late great Nipsey said, it's a marathon, right? So, um, to the people who said nothing's gonna change, things will change. I think maybe not in our generation, Dre, but like, you know, the amount of, you know, I re- I think in 400 years is we're just all gonna be. I don't even know if there's gonna be races anymore with everyone. We're coming off that the 50s where it was just like my parents are mixed race where they got looked down upon, but like we're all going to be mixed up in one way or another by in the next couple hundred years. I don't know what discrimination and racism is going to look like then. I'll be dead long and gone, but we are going in the right step.
Yeah, I think discrimination is going to be maybe pigmentation or
Yeah.
maybe social hierarchy. I have more money than you,
Wealth.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing, or
Yeah.
more wealth than you. It
Yeah.
won't be strictly like you're black, you're white. It'll
Yeah.
be you're lighter than me, you're darker than me.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, man. I think there's a time coming, maybe in 60 years, even 50 years, maybe shorter than that,
After the baby
where
boom dies off a little, I think.
I think there's going to be a baby boom from COVID, right? Like
Yeah,
I think
you're
there's
right.
another baby boom coming, right? Like,
You're
oh, you're a
right, man.
COVID baby, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
you're right.
This is like the war, when all the men came back from the war, and then there was all these babies. This is going to be another baby boom, but
Yeah, you're right.
I think there's going to be a time in history, or sorry, let me say that again. I think there's going to be a time in the future where the people out over there in 60 years or 50 years or however far it is are going to look back and think, yo, there was a time when people used to eat meat. Like they used to kill animals and just put them in packages and people would eat them. Hold on. There was a time when there were
We use
no,
gas.
we
So
used
it's like
cash.
gas for a car. Yeah.
What? We use gas? We use cash? Hold on. There was a time when there was only white people in the movies. Like there were no black people, there were no Asians, nothing. Nobody. Hold on. There was a time when women got paid less.
Yeah.
Like I think
I know.
all the things that we're living through now that are slowly changing, there's going to
I
come a
think
time.
it's funny you mentioned that, man, because I've been rewatching Boardwalk Empire,
Mhm.
just because nothing to do.
Great show.
Yeah. So I'm looking back at some of their social norms, right? And regarding women, they were just fighting to get women to vote, and like the hierarchy of status and everything. And it's just like I was thinking the same thing. Like it's funny you mentioned that, man. It's just like, what are people gonna look back on us and say, "Wow, you guys used to do that. You used to plug your phone into charge. Like you had a phone. Like I don't
Mhm.
know what you have with chips and like you just touch it, whatever. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we naturally progress as a society and as a world. It's that's how the world works. I mean, unless there's some detrimental thing that happens like the dinosaurs, we're gonna naturally progress, right? So, um, yeah, man, it's not gonna happen overnight. To those people that are saying, "What's the difference?" We got to chip away, man.
You're right, and it's not going to happen overnight. And I think you just said that it's the way the world works, and I don't know. The world works the way that it does because the people who are running the world are the people who were psychopaths 200, 400 years ago and just thought it was okay to just kill people and take over their land. And create slave routes and have people do the work for them and build things for them. Like these are the people that assembled the world that we're now living in, and we're undoing a lot of those systems and constructs that they've created. So we're starting to understand, like, wait a second, it's not right the way that we're treating women. It's not right the way that we're building businesses and work all the time and don't, like, it's that stuff is messed up.
All of that is, you're 100% right, man. A lot of our everyday lives are based on some really, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, please.
Some really fucked up shit, man. Like that's why I don't understand when people get mad of people tearing down a statue of some slave owner. Like, why is that bad? Like, do you understand the history of what that person did? And it's like, the more, and I'm not claiming
they don't though.
Huh?
They don't.
No,
because they're looking at that person, sorry to interrupt, they're looking at that person, that statue, as a forefather, somebody who built this country from scratch.
But a forefather to what? A forefather to this shit? You know
but to them, but remember, we're looking at it from two different sides of the fence. Like we're like, I'm looking at it like discomfort. This
and that's
person,
what I'm talking about, the disconnect, man. That's going back to what I was saying. Like, there's two different worlds. Because listen, you only know what you're taught. Yep. You're only a product of your environment. If you live in that environment growing up and for the rest of your life, that's all you're going to know. You know what I mean? We were lucky enough to grow up in Scarborough, and I experienced so many, it's a cultural melting pot there. Yeah. Like, I hung out with majority of Black people, but you know, Indians, Asians, white people, Italian, like, you
Greeks,
know how stuff,
Macedonians, Africans, everything.
That made me who we are. And I'm grateful for that. I wouldn't change a thing about how I grew up, because, you know, I look at some of these people who grew up in a sheltered existence, and it's just like, to be blunt, I feel bad for you. Like, I really do. Like, you know, one thing. I think growing up, going back to what you said, growing up, you know, mixed race for me and the searching for identities, I touched on with different people. I tried to learn from the different people, and I kind of grew up without hate in that aspect. But yeah, man, I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. But,
it's okay. There's a lot to talk about. Can we talk about Scarborough for like 2 minutes?
Yeah.
And just talk about how amazing a place Scarborough is to have grown. We're so lucky. We are. When I was younger, we didn't know. Like, we had no idea what it was to have an Asian teacher and to have like an Indian best friend, and then like a Greek, you know, gym teacher. Like, it just, we didn't know, because you're sitting down at the lunch table and everybody has something different to eat, and you're like, what's that? Man. And you're like, what's that? And you're learning about these things at like 6, 7, 8 years old. Whereas if I grew up in another town, everyone's white, or everyone's Asian, or everyone's Chinese. But it's just, we grew up around so many different kinds of people from a young age, that when we got to 20 and we moved out and we went to all these different places, it's like, oh yeah, I know exactly how to speak Tamil, or I understand Urdu, you know, because I grew up with people like that. Like what was your experience in Scarborough?
Scarborough, man, like I touched on, man, it's like Greeks, Italians, Blacks, whites, Asians. It's just, it was a cultural melting pot of beauty to me. Like you said, that prepared me for the real world. It also allowed me to be a better human being. It allowed me to be a better conversationalist. I can relate to more people based off my upbringing. I can relate to your nuances, how your body language, just the food, like you said, like that's food. Brings people together. That's just a given. Yeah. And when you have that knowledge, when you grow up experiencing all that different culture like you do in Scarborough, you're a better human being, period. That's it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you know, the people I've met this past summer from Scarborough, we just all instantly connect. It's like we know where you're from, we know how you upbring, and Scarborough's big, and you just kind of there's what, like 8 interchanges off the 401. It's huge, but we all know, man. Like I hear a Scarborough guy talk, I know you're from Scarborough.
You know. You know, but you also know what era of Scarborough he's from or she's from, you know? Are they from 90s Scarborough? Are they from like new 2010s Scarborough? Like, you're probably from VP, aren't you?
Yeah. Dude, I don't know what the new Scarborough slang is, to be honest with you. I just
It's I think you know what I think the new Scarborough slang is. It's like what they're trying to make the Toronto slang is like yeah, eh? And like
yeah. I see a lot of people make fun of that on Instagram, like when they say where you're from. You see
yeah,
those videos? And
yeah,
yeah, I see that popping up a lot. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't. That wasn't from our era, too heavy, but
No,
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 but
it wasn't.
no, but yeah, man, Scarborough. I wouldn't change a thing about Scarborough. I mean, I remember my parents. We moved to Pickering in grade 5 and moved
Hmm.
back to Scarborough in grade 7.
Hmm.
And I remember the Pickering guys. It was mostly white at that time. It was 97, and I did
Yeah,
not
yeah,
fit.
all white.
I did not fit in Pickering at all, man. I got made fun of. There was 2 black kids in the school, me and Yannick. I remember him. That was it. And we got picked on and shit, man. And I told the guys, yeah, I'm moving back to Scarborough, and they're all like, "Oh, are you sure? That's scary, man. Like, so dangerous there." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, I remember this vividly. I was on the playground. I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm from there. Like I'm more uncomfortable here.
and like a lot of people, like maybe people that are listening to this, I have a lot of listeners in Mexico, funny enough, but for people that are listening to this, you may not know what we're talking about. Scarborough is a city in Ontario, and it's actually, I've read this and I might have to fact check this, we're in 2021, maybe it's different, but Scarborough is actually home to the largest demographic of international immigrants that moved to Ontario. They moved to Scarborough, so that's why there are so many different types of people that are in Scarborough. It's a melting pot, like you said earlier. Everybody is there from everywhere, and there's mixed race. Like my neighbor when I was growing up was mixed race, black mom, black dad, white mom. It's the first time I'd ever seen that in my life. I mean, I'm 7, but
Yeah.
it was like, oh, okay, cool. This is a thing. I worked at a West Indian grocery store where the owner was black and Chinese. Like
Nice.
he was a
Where'd you work?
Harry's. You know Harry's at
Oh,
Markham and Lawrence? I don't know if
okay.
I'm from that side of Scarborough.
Yeah.
So anyway, and like black Chinese was a thing, and I'm telling
Yeah.
people about it, and they're like, "Oh, like there's black Chinese people?"
No, bro. You know what's funny, man? Because I grew up around black Chinese people, Jamaican Chinese people, right?
Yeah,
So
Jamaican
to me,
Chinese.
hearing a Chinese guy speak patois was nothing to me. But like
Yeah.
sometimes when I bring someone from not from Scarborough, they're like, "Yo, what's going on?" Like, he's Asian.
Their
Like,
minds explode. It's like,
yeah,
whoa. I had no idea this was a thing. It's like, yes, there are Chinese black people.
out of many one people, man. That's a Jamaican thing. But like,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
if I didn't grow up in Scarborough, that's the prime example of like, not saying other areas don't have, Jamaican Asians, but just goes back to the point of Scarborough being that melting pot and like of culture, of beautiful culture where, dude, like you said, I had Indian friends, I had white friends, I had black friends, Greeks huge in Scarborough, Greek friends, and we all got along, man. We used to go play Nintendo 64. There was probably 5 different cultures in there, just eating pizza and playing N64, and we were all getting along. And this is high school. This isn't just like preliminary school where it's like, you're 5 and 6, you get along with everybody. We're 16, 17, we're getting along with it because that's what we know. And
Hmm.
when you break it down, we're at the end of the day just human beings, and
Hmm.
no one hated each other, man. It was a beautiful thing, and I wouldn't change a thing about growing up in Scarborough.
I wouldn't change anything either. Are you getting the question, what now? What's next? Are you feeling like you need to be Mr. Philanthropy and you have to take on all things?
Yeah, dude. I felt that during, we touched on it earlier in the conversation.
Hmm.
I felt that during my 46 rides, like people asking what's next. And it's just like, yo, chill. Like I'm in this right now. Let me finish this. Definitely 100% feel pressure. I do have some things planned. I'm just trying to organize it all and then announce it properly. I'm having the website rebuilt and everything, but there's definitely pressure, man. And I try to touch back on my friend Roland, who said, it's not up to you anymore. It's up to us. You started it. you did your job. It's up to us to carry on that flame. I try to center back to that. I try, but there's this thing in me, man, that like I wrote about this yesterday in my notepad, where it's just like, for some reason, I'm addicted to pain. I'm addicted to putting myself through struggle for some reason, dude. And I'm trying to figure that out. Like, I work out 3 times a day. I only eat 1,500 calories a day. I eat within a 4-hour window, and I just work out. And I don't know why. It's not healthy at all. And this next venture I'm doing, when you hear about it, you're gonna be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I don't know if it's to prove maybe some doubters that, oh, he did that, what is he gonna do again? Maybe it sparks from those people, what's next, what's next, what's next? That in my mind, in the back of my head, I gotta top what I did. When I know I don't. I know that, like, you know, I've started the conversation, and, you know, there are waves rippling through, but it's tough, man. It's something I need to, you know, come to terms with, and I need to relax sometimes, man. It's not healthy for me. I'm going to crash and burn, but yeah.
Well, you know what, for that, therapy is absolutely important. I'm sure somebody has, if not yet, somebody has said that to you. I mean, therapy is massive, and it's just really just a practice of just sitting and having a conversation with yourself, having a conversation with somebody about what are the things that you're feeling, and just taking inventory of what's going on inside your mind.
I tried. So I reached out to a therapist. And, you know, they're hard to book these days, right?
I
don't
bet.
know if it was hard for me, and this goes back to like growing up as a man, as a boy, and I think I touched on this in one of my posts, where, and you can talk on this too, where it's like, you know, we're taught from a young age not to cry, to be strong for so and so, to be this and that. You got to be a man. What the fuck does that even mean? You know what I mean? And, you know, growing up with that, which I'm trying to unlearn, I always felt like, you know, what am I going to talk to a stranger? You know, what are they going to do for me, where, you know, I have to try to fix this myself? I think that's a lot of struggle with men. And that's something I had to overcome, and still overcoming, is just trying to, you know, I'm transparent in my posts on Instagram. I'm trying to be transparent in my conversations. That post where I put that I cry once a week, dude, my DMs blew up with dudes that said, thank you. I thought I was the only one. And it just proves to me that, like, yo, we're all going through this, but we're all hiding it as men, because society tells us boys don't cry. Boys don't show their pain. You suck it up and you fucking deal with it. And that's not right, man. I don't know what the original question was, Jay. But yeah, man.
It's okay, man. It's hard. It's hard. And in that post, I mean, and I love your post as well. And it makes me feel like, okay, there's somebody out there who's going through the same thing I am, and it makes it easier for me to go through it. And I try to be transparent. I try to be vulnerable as well. I'm seeing a therapist. I've seen a therapist since 2020, April. So midway.
Can I ask you something before you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Continue?
Go ahead.
Is it a woman? Is it a woman or a man? Because
It's a female.
I could only get a female. And her first statement to me was, how do you feel about me being a female and me being white? I didn't even think of it. And I was so honest with her. I'm like, listen, you're the only one available. So I told her that straight up. So how do you feel about talking to a woman?
I love it. And she's a Black female in Atlanta. And I personally, I love women. And I'm not just saying that as a man, like I love women, but
don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking women. It's just like, what she was asking was, obviously men and women have go through different things, was her point. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking women at all, guys. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't think you are. I was kind of like getting onto something, but I love women. And I think the perspective that a female therapist has to offer is much, much different and much more vast maybe than what a male therapist would have to offer. I've never had a male therapist, but just being able to, because, you know, like you said earlier, we don't necessarily as men understand how to articulate our emotions and our thoughts because we've never had to, and we've always been
Never been
told to
taught
push
to.
that aside. We've never been taught to, and we've always been told to push that aside. And like the elephant in the room, the thing that we're not saying here is that, hey, look, sometimes women are the ones that are telling us not to express ourselves, right? Like they have also been taught that a man should be this. And
Yeah,
so when we are being a little bit emotional or vulnerable, or like, hey, I need more time, or hey, I need you to be, they're like, be a man or man up or whatever it
yeah,
is.
dude.
So it's coming from like all these angles,
Yo,
right?
dude, no, man, shit.
Right?
Straight up.
And
Yeah,
I don't think there's enough of that dialogue going on right now. But yeah, I mean, I love having a female therapist. She listens. I think they have the opportunity to hear the things that you're not saying differently than some male therapists may. If I'm making any sense, like there are times I'll say something to her, and she'll say, I'll go on for a while, and she'll say, "Why did you say this?" And I'm
yeah,
just like, I didn't even know that I said that.
yeah, right.
Right? They just kind of like
Yeah.
put a highlight on it, and it's like, wow, I
And you know what? It's funny, like, after I told her like you were the only one available, I did want to talk to a woman too, just because again, going back to the whole male thing, is just like, am I gonna cry in front of another man? Like I'm more comfortable crying in front of a woman.
mhm,
Just just because, you know what I mean? I gotta be this alpha dog, you know what I mean? Like, what am I gonna do cry in front of a man? Like, and that's again, excuse me, unlearning, right? There's a bunch of things that we have to unlearn as men. And it's true what you said too, man. We're getting it from all angles. On the men's side, um, when I was in the gym, I always felt I had to like outlift everybody. Like, but for what?
mhm.
Like, what am I trying to prove? It was just that in me. Like, I had a friend. I used to go at 4 a.m. to the gym, and like we became friends. Everyone in there, everyone in there at 4 a.m. is on the same wavelength, so we all
True.
kind of connected.
Yeah.
So there's this girl in there who runs like a health page, and she interviewed me the other day. And she's like, the first thing I thought of before I met you and talked to you was that you're like really like alpha male, that strong, like standoffish, whatever. But like when you talk to you, you're just the nicest guy. And it made me realize like I'm in the gym trying to like outlift all these dudes, but for what? And it's like on the flip side, women are telling you, suck it up. Like, don't be a pussy. Don't be this, that, the other. You're totally right, man. We're getting it from both angles, and it's just like, yo, just stop. Like, I'm a human being too. You know what I mean? So
There's so much there, right? There's because really what it is it's a fear. It's a fear of really that's your ego. Like the thing that this woman you're talking about, the thing that she saw was like the ego that you were projecting.
yeah,
You're projecting this ego out of a fear from something, out of a fear
to
from
protect me. Yeah,
exactly. You don't want to be taken advantage of, so you need to develop this shell where you're being protected now. So you exude this like, don't mess with me. I'm alpha. I'm stronger than you type mentality. And that really, if you peel back all those layers, it's really a fear that has developed from maybe childhood, maybe like there's an event that happened in your life, and we all have that in different ways,
yeah,
And it's just the practice of going through therapy and understanding mental health and understanding where that comes from is really just understanding, why am I this way in the first place? Who taught me to be this way? Who taught me that this is okay? Right? Whose voice is that in my head that says that I need to be the strongest in the room? I need to be the most powerful in the room. Where is that coming from?
yeah.
And
It's
once
it,
you,
it's like you said, it's childhood trauma, and it's at the end of the day, it's insecurity. It's an insecurity I have,
it
and
is.
it's a cloak trying to protect me,
Mhm.
100%. And like I don't know where it's coming from. I'm still trying to figure that out. But yeah, man, it's definitely all angles, man. It just sometimes you just like stop, man. Just stop. Just let me live, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it informs our partners as well. It informs who we decide to romantically get involved with, right? Because we're so caught up in our egotistical mind that we want somebody who strokes that ego a little bit. So there are a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of there are guys that I know that only date women that they can control, and there are guys that like will date somebody, but then they'll like cheat on them and date other women just because it feeds their ego, but they don't even know that. They're just dating multiple women, having sex with multiple women just because they feel good and they feel powerful.
But that's an insecurity itself, though.
It is an insecurity, but they don't see it as that, right? They're just like, well, whatever. I just like, but like rarely do these men take the opportunity to step back and think like, why am I doing this? Why do I want to fill my time with women?
Dude, there's this documentary. I'll try to find it to you, send to you offline. But it's basically about boys growing up and how we're feeding them what we're feeding them mentally. And one of the coaches for a football team was just like, think about what we're telling these kids about women. Yo, I'm gonna hit that.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna get like from such a young age we're taught like we deserve, you know, women. We have to take it. We got to take control. And it's like it starts from a young age. And this is going back to you know, race and diversity too. Like it's what we're taught. It's what we're taught, you know, and it's a lot of unlearning to do. How long is it going to take? It's not going to be overnight, but
no.
You know.
Therapy is a really great way to be there, to get there, and I'm really proud of you for doing that. I'm doing it as well. Not a lot of us, not enough of us are, but you know, everybody is on their own journey, and they will find their way there eventually. And just kind of to put a pin on the therapy conversation is that I don't know if this is happening for you, but it's happened for me, and it continues to happen for me. But when you are able to kind of shine a light on those dark corners of your mind and understand what makes you tick, you can see it in other people as well. When you start to identify, this is my ego, this is my pride, this is my insecurity that's speaking, you can see that in other people. And it's something that's helped me see it in other people. And I've learned grace. I've learned empathy on a level that I've never learned before. And I think you've learned that as well, even going through the 46 for George journey and being so transparent in your posts and letting everyone know that, yo, I do cry sometimes. It is hard for me sometimes. I think you've learned that as well. Thanks for your time. Great talking to you. Let us know where we can find you, man. Where can we find Cuesta? Where can we keep up with what you're doing?
There, at Cuesta on Instagram, right there. 46forgeorge.com is being redone. So eventually you can go to the site. The site's still live, but it's going to be redone. But yeah, my main source of contact is Instagram. My email button's there on the page, or DM me, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Got it. Peace. Thanks, Cuesta. Appreciate your time, and thanks for everything that you're doing. I'm looking forward to what you have coming up, man.
You too, Dre. Take it easy, bro.
Peace.